வறுக்க பொரிக்க ஏன் எல்லா சமையலுக்கும் மந்த்ரா தான். மந்த்ரா கடலை எண்ணெய், அபார ருசி, ஆரோக்கியமான உடல் நலம்.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the Secretary of the IT Department, Thiru Kumara Gurubaran IAS, the Managing Director of ELCOT, Thiru Anish Shekhar IAS, our CII representative, Thiru Thiagarajan, Executive Director, Thiru Arun Raj IAS, for organizing this event, and most importantly, thank you to all of you for coming to be part of this event today. Generally, when we try to shape policies, the government tries to do the right thing. We try to take inputs from those who are in the field, from those who are likely to be affected by the policy, and we do this pretty uniformly. If you look at during the budget, when I was finance minister, we used to hold 5 or 6 stakeholder meetings with different sectors of the economy, with agriculture, with services, with manufacturing, so forth. But in this particular case, I must say that this meeting is very, very timely and likely to greatly influence our decision making. As you know, the Chief Minister has set us a target of becoming a $1 trillion economy by 2030. From a mathematical perspective, that is requiring real growth, ex-inflation, of north of 10% annually, and compounding over the next 7-8 years, including this year, to get to that place. The only way we can do that is through something disruptive. The good news is we've done it before. If you look at the 2006 to 11 period, despite the global financial crisis, Tamil Nadu's real growth was over 10% a year for that 5-year period. So we know it can be done. We also know the good news is that the macroeconomic global situation, and in particular the geopolitical situation of the China plus one strategy for most major companies, is making this a really golden window for India, for us to try and replicate the 30 years of unprecedented wealth creation that happened in China between 1990 and 2020. You may all remember that in 1990, China and India had roughly the same per capita income, and how far ahead they've gone through the power of compounding, growing 3 to 5% a year, higher than the Indian average compounded for 30 years. If we have to do that kind of acceleration, surely it must come from something new that we haven't done before. Of course, we want to do incrementally, better things in agriculture, in manufacturing. But we see the technology space, and in particular the emerging technologies for fintech, for AI, the greater and greater complexity and need for cybersecurity. And as we are here today, the AVGC sector as one of these great accelerants of our growth. I'm sure that between the material that we would have tried to give you, and for most of you who are operating out of here, you already understand some of the advantages we have, culturally, historically, economically, educationally. We are a relatively unique state. Just for the sake of stating it in one comprehensive list, I would start with saying that language, literature, creative thinking, and the dissemination of knowledge through plays, movies, is innate to our culture, has been through various phases of technology, from the Sangam era to the boom in the Tamil film industry, has been inherent to our nature as a culture. We also graduate somewhere around 16-17% of all the engineers in India today because of our focus on education going back 100 plus years. And many of them, while they may require special training in specific skills, are largely English speaking and relatively quickly transformable into productive members of technology companies. We are a relatively advanced economy with relatively high social equity. So we have a very high penetration of internet access, much like other parts of the country, 100% in the urban areas. And because we're the most urbanized state, that already puts us in a good place. But we also have relatively high penetration even in the rural areas. And to augment that, though we are a late starter, we are working very diligently on our BharatNet version in TanfiNet here, where we hope to have within the next, let's say, 12 months, 100 Mbps lines covering all our 12,500 something villages in Tamil Nadu, Gram Panchayats in Tamil Nadu. So we have the infrastructure. And of course, as many of you know, as I knew from my days in the banking industry, Chennai is a very good place to put redundancy and backup sites because undersea cables of the internet usually land, all of them land either in Mumbai or Chennai, and that gives you some advantages in reliability and reduced latency. So we have all these things going for us. What we don't have generally in government is the cutting edge of where the industry is and where it wants to go. And that's true across all industries. I don't mean particularly about this. And in my own experience, the transformation of my understanding of these things, I used to be an engineer myself. I learned how to do some coding and stuff. And then I switched to operations research as my major, and for problems that were not solvable analytically, I used to teach as a graduate assistant and then learned as well a lot of simulation and stochastic modeling, and it was all like quantitative then, and it started becoming more and more graphic over time. And then at some later time in my life, I went to graduate school at MIT, where the MIT Media Lab was the cutting edge, at least in those days, of innovation in new types of media and new ways of representing information, representing images, and new materials for the use of displays and new kinds of displays. And during my days as a banker, I had the luxury of covering one of the clients was Disney, Walt Disney. And I used to go down to Anaheim every once a year or something for a relationship meeting. And the building held up by the 7 dwarfs from the old days, from Walt Disney's days. And in some sense, they are the grandfather of the animation industry, right? I mean, spectacularly successful at it, have adapted to the changes in technology at different times by merging with the right companies, bringing the right creative talent. And I dare say now it's as good or as much or higher driver of their revenues than, real actor films, human-made films. So this is the potential. We see that this is also an opportunity, if I speak very frankly, for Tamil Nadu to regain some of the momentum we lost. You may remember that this was the state that first set up an IT ministry in the late 90s. It was the first state that set up an IT corridor, though I take Dr. Manivannan's point that maybe we set up with ambitions that were too low in terms of skill and productivity. But in any event, we at least had the vision to set it up and envision that this was going to be a huge driver of growth, of jobs. So we had the building blocks in place. But the honest truth is over the last 10, 20 years, we have fallen behind the places where there's a lot of innovation. In particular, I would cite Bangalore and, and Hyderabad, maybe to some extent Pune. But everything changes all the time. Now we are post-pandemic. We are deleveraging of China. Still a lot of liquidity in the world. At an inflection point for the industry, for the technology industry in so many ways, with generative AI, which basically is almost unlimited data capture, almost infinite processing capacity on demand, and therefore the ability to actually realize the potential of machine learning in a much more applicable way than the last 2 or 3 comings of AI. But I would say why we want this workshop is that we see in our heart, in the nature of Tamil Nadu, we see AVGC as a special vertical for our growth. As I said, we have a long history of culture, art, even in the movie industry, a very clear identity and a huge movie industry. And as somebody in politics, I want to say the thing that is really amazing about Tamil Nadu is the extent of memes. There's a meme for everything. There's a meme for anything, and there's a meme for everything. And it is the most apt and the best incisive kind of humor and satire that I have seen, by far better than you can see in English. So I think we are in the right ecosystem mentally for this to happen. Of course, you need more than that. You need infrastructure, you need government support, you need incentives, you need alignment. I would say, in addition to the BharatNet, the fact that we have ELCOT and a whole number of facilities, we have the critical mass. I have some data here with me that at this point we have about 38 operational SEZs in Tamil Nadu. I think about 11 or 12 of them may be in the IT field. And we have lots and lots of IT parks, both government run and privately, with already millions and millions of square feet and probably another 100+ million square feet in the offing. ELCOT has thousands of acres of land still for development, and back in the budget this year, I announced that we will be looking to develop tech cities or self-contained enclaves in Hosur, in Coimbatore, and in North Madras, near Madhavaram. We have located some land, and you should see these as kind of Gurgaon type model, where we build from infrastructure to commercial to housing to social services, schools, hospitals, shopping malls, etc. So we want to create an environment that is infrastructure second class to none, that has a talent pool access that should be the best in the world if you add both quality and scale of the benefit of our demographics. And we want to use our natural affinity to this sector to try and use this as a leapfrogging or a transforming event and era in our attempt to recapture the momentum of what Tamil Nadu used to be in the IT and enabled services industry. To do that, we need all of you. We need individuals, we need entrepreneurs, we need visionaries. We also need associations. In my visit to Hyderabad earlier this year, at the great hospitality of my good friend Ram, the IT minister there, I realized the value of having trade associations that could facilitate between individual entities and the government and help coalesce the voice and the needs and the vision and help planning. Government does a lot of things well, not often highly visionary, especially in very specialized sectors. So this is our attempt at getting all of your input. At least 4 or 5 of my friends have written me saying that their partners, their colleagues, their friends are in the audience, so maybe I'll get to meet some of you at lunchtime. We're very excited and grateful that you're with us today. We look forward to all of your inputs. This policy will be shaped wholly by you. Other than the intent, we don't really have any set ideas in mind, so we are open to taking almost any input that will help us move in the direction we want and fulfill our intent of using this vertical as a way to leapfrog and to identify our state, our industry as a specialist in this hugely accelerating field. I want to thank all of you who have already spoken earlier today, and for those of you who are yet to speak. On a personal note, I apologize due to unexpected, passing of somebody. I had to reschedule my visit, and I've just come here straight from the airport. So I would have dressed slightly differently if I had been in Chennai, but I'm coming from somewhere else down south. And also that I had to shift my speech from the morning to the afternoon. But at some other level, my speech is not the important speech here. All it is an expression of intent, a request for your input, a commitment to cooperation, and it's as well delivered at 1 o'clock as it would have been at 10 o'clock. So I thank you again, and I'm eager to get the collated inputs from all of your time and insight and knowledge, which I'm sure the MD will, in time, and the Secretary will discuss with me. Thank you.